I think a spotter today has just changed a lot over the last few years. When you think about it, before, a spotter just told you if you're inside or outside, and if there's a wreck, where to go. Now, that spotter's, or most of them, or at least mine for sure, is into every little detail of what's going on. He preps with me. He understands where I'm at with things, helps with the choose, helps with where other cars are out there, and he's got to really be a lot more educated than they used to be. So it becomes a critical role in the team.
We saw it last week with Ryan spotting for you, but when you spotted for him in that win at Hickory last year, what do you pick up on that? How cool an event was that?
I just had a blast. I mean, Coleman and I, we grew up together, so to see him out there racing, I knew how much he wanted to win. He had his kids there, and just to see him and his whole family celebrating was my favorite part, for sure. But definitely a different perspective up there, and it's really hard to see something and put it into words really, really quickly, especially when they're wrecking. There's a few times I was just like, oh, you're past it already, so it's over. But it was tough.
Joey, does it make any sort of a difference when the sport's most popular driver is out for a few weeks, and obviously he's back this week, but does it make any sort of difference in the garage area not having him around?
I think no matter who it is, it has some kind of effect in the garage. You don't ever want to see any of your competitors hurt or not out there, but you think about our sport's kind of funky when you think about it, and it's like all sports. So like you're very relevant until you're not, and it's kind of crazy. You see drivers retire, right? And for the first half of the year, you're like, oh, he's not out there anymore. And then you get used to it and you move on, and life keeps going. And it's kind of sad that it's like that. But I think in Chase's case, obviously most popular driver, and only out for a few weeks, I think the whole sport felt the impact of that a little bit.
What does it mean to have him back this week then?
I think it's great to have him back. Yeah, it's great.
Joey, based off how it performed at Phoenix and Richmond, do you think you have better expectations of how this new short track package is going to perform tomorrow than it did last year?
It can't be worse. I know that. I don't mean that in like a negative way, saying last year was horrible. I'm just saying directionally, this is the right way to go. Right? And is it completely fixed? I don't know. We'll have to kind of wait and see. We saw last time Goodyear brought a tire that really rubbered up the racetrack, so we had that part figured out. But, when you look at, Richmond was a far better race than it was last year. And I would assume the same would happen here.
Joey, can you talk about next week at Talladega, how different of a race Talladega is, say, than Daytona?
It's quite a bit different for a few reasons. One being how wide the track is. Obviously, the handling comes in a little bit less, but the way the pack works, it's really hard to – there's more lanes to block, right? Daytona's three lanes, 4 lanes pretty tight, so you only have to worry about 4 wide there. 4 wide's a pretty common thing at Talladega. It can happen pretty comfortably. So definitely changes that.
So do you do more work out the back than the front then?
It's just the draft is just different. I don't know if it's more one way or the other. It's just harder to maintain the lead.
What questions do you have after seeing last night's race and the wet weather tires and the process that went through and with the potential maybe there's some rain in the forecast for Sunday? You guys might have to be dealing with that Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we're all learning, right? And that was the first opportunity for something like this to happen. It was a pretty conservative attempt, which, hey, let's walk before we run, kind of with that. Right? I mean, the track was pretty much dry. Right? I think you could have put slicks on, and it would have been fine to start the race. The corners looked dry to me, at least watching on TV. Maybe some of the drivers disagree, but at least in the corners it looked dry. It looks like you probably could put slicks on and get away with it here. So it was definitely a crawl before you walk. I wouldn't say it's a walk before you run. It's definitely a crawl before you walk type of scenario. I'm sure NASCAR probably wanted to get back and get some feedback and understand how everything was before they step up. Because, listen, man, we don't want to go out there and it be a complete failure. Then we would never do it again, right? So let's walk into it a little bit.
We've got to talk with Dalton Sawyer briefly and talk about, hey, we could probably be a little bit more aggressive in that. From a driver's point of view, what would you feel a little bit more comfortable if it's like a more aggressive? Like, say yesterday, last time we maybe a little more of a drier condition. What would you be saying more and more comfortable saying, hey, let's go out and do it at X? Or what's the track going to look like to be okay?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? I mean, if there's no If there's no spray and you can actually see where you're going, that's like the number one thing to me. Vision is a big safety thing. We got to have that. The other piece too is if you go too soon and you burn in one dry groove, well, what good is that? Like, it's not worth racing in the rain if it's not a good race. Like, if I'm a race fan, I'd rather just wait 30 minutes and watch a real race, right? So, and last night it was an entertaining race. Like, they were passing each other, things were happening, it was good. But if it was more wet out there and there's only one lane and no one can actually pass each other and do anything, well, then it's probably not that good of a race.
This is Harrison Burton, driver the number 21. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check out one of these two videos beside me. Visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.